Morning, everybody. We're actually afternoon again. I know I'm getting later in the day, but that's all right. Today, we're going to talk about emotions. Probably one of my favorite topics to talk about because the emotions you feel most often determines the quality of your life. Let me repeat that because this is a massive statement and it will change your life if you truly understand it. The emotions that you feel most often in a day, in a week, equals the quality of your life. So if you want to rate your quality of your life 1 to 10, it has nothing to do with anything except the emotions that you feel most often. Can you control the emotions that you feel most often? Well, let's go even further. What are the emotions that you feel most often? Can you even name them? Can you write them down? Most of us actually are feeling the same set of emotions over and over again. And what's sad is some of us don't, there's certain emotions that some of us don't feel at all. And emotions is not, it's like the alphabet. Like there's so many emotions, right? Like you can study them. You can actually like write them down. If I told you, hey, make a list of 20 different kinds of emotions, you could probably do it. And you should. But more importantly, you have to first ask yourself, what are the emotions that I feel most often? Okay, now, second part. That's one thing. The emotions that you feel most often is just figuring out where you are today. How do we now change the emotions that we feel? Can you control the emotions that you feel? Of course you can. So the emotions that you feel at any given moment, like right now, the emotions that I feel, or right now, the emotion that you're feeling is determined by two things. It's two very simple things, and this is not me making this up. This is reading lots of books and listening to people and testing it out. The emotions you feel are determined by two things. One, what you're focusing on. That's it. If you're focusing on that time your coworker screwed you over, the time you got fired, if you're focusing on the person who passed away, if you're focusing on why your life sucks, if you're focusing on why am I overweight, if you're focusing on any kind of negative memory, I mean, whatever emotions you felt in that memory is what you're going to be feeling right now. It's literally that simple. If you're focusing on the time you crushed it, the time you killed it, the time you excelled, the time you planned your sister's wedding and everybody was proud of you, the time you scored really high, or the time you hustled, like, whatever you're focusing on. So now I'm just talking about like obviously a conscious thing here, right? What are you focusing on determines what you feel. But there's a thing in between. There's like a multiplier, I guess you could say. The meaning of that event, of course, determines how you feel. So if I focus on a car accident that just happened to me not too long ago, okay? And car accidents literally happen to me all the time. If you guys know me, I that was my history for the last 10 years. If the meaning I associate to that car accident is, why does God hate me? Or why am I so unlucky? Or why am I always getting into car accidents? I must be cursed. If that's the meaning that I associate with it, that's the story that I'm assigning to it, then of course that with what I'm focusing on results to my emotions. Versus, obviously, oh my God, I'm so happy that I got into a car accident again. I could finally get a new car. That car was cursed. Like if that's the story I'm telling myself, or, oh my God, I'm so happy I got into a car accident because where I was going was clearly something probably more disastrous was going to happen. So I got lucky, right? Then I'm going to feel different emotions because the focus times meanings. Focus multiplied by the meaning you associate to that event, that's the emotions you're going to feel. But here's a really cool thing. Like, I could literally take, and I meet people and I talk to people and I just ask them certain questions about their history, their past. Like, tell me about the time you traveled. Oh my God, you're a traveler. Oh my God, this. Oh my God, that. Tell me about a time where you were absolutely at your best. When I start asking them these questions, their mind is focusing on those memories. They start to feel great. Those are the emotions that they're feeling at that moment. And obviously, if you can control the emotions you feel most often, that is going to increase the quality of your life a lot. And what's sad is, of course, the people who are feeling negative emotions, stress, whether it's confusion, whether it's anger, way too often. And honestly, first, just start by categorizing it. Start by figuring it out. Second thing is physiology. So literally me standing like this, versus taking this and putting it 2 millimeters up. Literally do it for yourself. Take this and put 2 millimeters up, and now just have the same conversation with somebody. You feel more confident. You feel better about yourself. You literally will feel stronger just by putting your chest 2 millimeters up. It's like the easiest, simple tricks. If you ever want to use a code word with your spouse or your friends, and they kind of have that sluggish kind of down kind of thing, just use the word 2 millimeter. Yo, 2 millimeter up. That literally just means go like this. Massive difference in not just the way you feel, but the way you talk. Now, physiology is what I'm trying to get at. Of course, go for a run, you're going to feel different. They've done studies at Stanford, at many different universities. Smile, like make a big smile on your face, even if you're clinically depressed. Like I'm talking like clinically depressed. They have studied so many people, they just make them smile cheek to cheek for a long period of time. It literally changes and alters their mood. Their emotions change. Some of them came out of that long exercise of just grinning for the entire day, and they came out and just said, I literally am not depressed anymore. I'm not making this up. These are real stories, and I'm just giving you in a fast track. But physiology, which is how you use your body, and the second thing is focus. Focus is probably the easiest one because it's so in your control. You don't even have to get out of your bed. The moment you wake up, what are you focusing on? Now, how do I get better at focusing? There's many things, but meditating is one of them. Praying is one of them. Kind of letting your thoughts be with you and thinking through your thoughts is a very important step in being able to focus. Because some of us, we can't really focus. We just literally sit around and like all these crazy thoughts are coming to our head, and then what do? We go use drugs or alcohol or some sort of distraction or some sort of social media dopamine to kind of get our mind off it so we don't have to think to ourselves. Well, by not being able to control what you're focusing on, by not being able to think, kind of peacefully or in control, like of you being in control of what you're thinking of, you're kind of setting up yourself for disaster. You're going to focus on random things all the time, or you're going to keep being distracted, and of course you're going to feel whatever emotions as a result. But here's what I encourage you to do, right? I love feeling excited. I love feeling adventurous. I love feeling like, I crushed something, right? So I can write down certain feelings and say, okay, how do I make sure that I have these feelings as often as possible? So what do I have to do? And then it starts to really change the question about, should I quit my job or start a business? Should I, jump in and go on that? Am I going to feel as a result of that? Right? I love being mind blown, which is why I love reading every single morning or learning something every single morning, because the feeling of just growth and learning is just something I'm addicted to. So I love, but I've recognized that I've written down and I've started to put out certain events saying, every time I do this, I feel this. Every time I do that, I do that. Every time I donate to a charity, I feel like this. Every time I go on a trip that's really spontaneous, I feel like this. Every time I talk to somebody and I make them feel great about themselves, I feel like this. And these are the feelings that I want to feel most often, so I'm going to do a lot more of that. Quality of your life equals the emotions that you feel most often. Start by at least asking yourself, what emotions am I feeling most often in a week? And if they're really negative emotions that you're feeling, or they're really average or dull emotions, that's good. Because like this, you can start to change like massive improvements in your life. That's really what it's about. And if you already have positive emotions, you're like, hey, I feel pretty good, but like feeling mediocre, that's not life either. I'm not asking you to just kind of kick around and just feel okay about yourself or feel good about yourself. I'm not really asking you to, feel average emotions or feel nothing at all. Don't numb yourself. Figure out what are the best emotions. Honestly, you can go to Google and say list of emotions. Figure out what the best emotions out there are, and just make a commitment that I'm going to figure out what I have to do to feel these emotions more often. And here's the last thing I'm going to leave it with this. The richest people, some of the most successful people who literally have everything, love, connection, they've got assets, they might own a house, they might have, hundreds and millions of dollars in their bank, but they are often feeling just like crap emotions. And that sucks. But that also tells you that what you have in life has nothing to do with the emotions you feel most often, right? What you own, what you have, what was happening to you has nothing to do with the emotions. It's the meaning that you associate, and it really comes down to what you're focusing on. Obviously, we all know the person who has nothing in their life, has nothing going. They just maybe, just lost their job, but they still feel great. They still are feeling positive emotions, which hopefully tells you that emotions and the emotions that you feel, also the quality of your life, is completely in your control. And if you keep blaming things in the outside world, you're wasting your time. That's all for today.